them honor, and they will not be disdained. That's today's agenda. Thank you for joining us. God bless all of you. I'm Cito Beltran. Please keep it here on One News PH.
The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Charles Lejano. The Baybay LGU in Leyte has temporarily halted their search and retrieval operations for victims of landslides in several barangays. This after the Mines and Geosciences Bureau warned that the pathways to these affected areas are also unsafe for rescuers. Gemma Vansenia with the report.
Baybay City Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office conducted forced evacuations on Monday night at Sitio Pamotosan, Barangay Makinhas. This move is based on the recommendation of the Mines and Geosciences Bureau, which warned that there were land cracks found at the side of a mountain near the sitio. Residents willingly cooperated with the evacuation efforts as they fear of becoming victims of a potential landslide. In this map sent by the Bureau, some areas in Leyte are classified as geohazard areas. These are areas at risk of soil erosion or landslides. Included in the list are Barangay Catagnos and Bunga in Baybay City, which were first declared geohazard areas back in 2014. These two villages were also affected by landslides caused by Bagyong Agathon. Barangay Pilar over in Abuyong was also classified as a geohazard area. Over 100 residents are feared to have been buried alive by a landslide in the village.
Unfortunately po, yung rating talaga yung dalawang itong barangay na sa Baybay at saka sa itong Ibuyog, naka-high rating talaga po sila. Yung debris flow type of landslide. Ito, malaki, malawak ang kanyang coverage.
For Baybay City Mayor Carlos Casi, they never failed to warn residents about these impending dangers. Casi says they have even scheduled the relocation of residents, but unfortunately, tragedy struck first.
Lahat ng nakausap ko, mga taga-barangay, sabi na, ang tagal na nila nakatira dyan na sila lumaki, wala namang landslide nangyari dyan sa area nila.
The MGB also tells the LGU as well as residents to take their warning seriously, noting that their list of geohazard areas was determined by science. For now, the LGU has temporarily halted its search and retrieval operation for bodies in landslide-affected barangays. According to them, there's a low chance of finding survivors since over a week has passed since the tragedy. The MGB also said that paths to these affected sites are not safe for rescuers.
In fact, sabi nga nila, may isa daw silang access na pinuntahan. Papunta, okay pa, pagbalik nila, bumabagsak pa yung wall. So, ayun yung landslide is the delayed reaction.
Victims' families are now dealing with the loss of their loved ones without even a body to mourn over.
Ginawa ko na yung lahat para mahanap lang siya. Pero mula nung Lunes hanggang ngayon, wala talaga. Sabi ko magparamdam, hindi man nagparamdam din. Sabi ko sa kanya, magparamdam para kung saan siya mahukay namin.
According to the latest tally of the Baybay LGU, around 120 people have died in the landslide and almost 17 remain missing. For News 5, Jem Avancenia, we are One News.
More people have been confirmed dead since the onslaught of tropical cyclone Agathon in the Philippines. As of 8 a.m. today, the NDRRMC reports that a total of 178 people died due to Agathon. 8 people were injured, while the number of missing people rose to 111. The NDRRMC also reported that over 600,000 families were affected by the recent tropical cyclone. That is equivalent to nearly 2.1 million people living in about 2,400 barangays. Meanwhile, the damage to houses caused by Agathon is now worth over 700,000 pesos. The agriculture sector suffered over 257 million pesos in damage, while the cost of damage to infrastructure remained at almost 7 million pesos. The Health Department is now warning the public against risks of a possible surge next month, as it sees cases in the NCR alone hitting 60,000 per day. JC Cosico has the details.
Should the public continue neglecting health protocols, the World Health Organization warns the Philippines could tally at least 300,000 active COVID-19 cases by mid-May.
If we relax our defenses, then yes, it's possible to get to those numbers.
The Health Department has already noted breaches in basic health protocols, increasing the likelihood of another surge. By next month, the DOH is projecting a daily case of at least 60,000 in Metro Manila should health protocol compliance decline by 50%.
Marami rin dun sa mga dagat na pinupuntahan na talagang punong-puno sila at halos magkakadikit na sila. Dito po nagkakaroon ng chance yung virus para po magpasa-pasa sa bawat isa sa atin.
Cases remain low even amid the barrage of campaign sorties and Holy Week activities. Average case count from April 12 to 18 is at 224, 17% lower than the previous week. Positivity rate is at 1.6%, while ICU and bed utilization rates remain at low risk. But 14 areas in the country are being monitored due to slight increase in cases. These are from regions 1, 2, 3, 4B, Caraga, 8, 11, and CAR.
Nagpositive ang kanilang 1-week growth rate dahil yung iba from 0 case nagkaroon ng 2. But it doesn't mean that the increases were significant.
Apart from observing health standards, the DOH urges the public to get vaccinated. To do that, government will once again hold Bayanihan Bakunahan special vaccination days from April 20 to May 20. The focus will be on the areas with low immunization rates like BARM. Meanwhile, the DOH is yet to finalize the schedule of the second booster shot rollout for immunocompromised individuals, senior citizens, and health workers. As of April 18, more than 67 million Filipinos have completed their primary doses, while around 12.7 million have received the booster shots. For News 5, JC Cosico, we are One News.
The research group says the WHO's warning that active COVID-19 cases in the country could reach 300,000 may be an overestimation. In an interview with 1PH's Wagpo, Octa research fellow Guido David explained that this figure might be too big given our current testing capacity. However, David said it is still possible, especially if new COVID-19 subvariants emerge.
Honestly, don't see 300,000 cases. Parang masyadong marami yan compared sa testing natin. Hindi naman natin sasabi hindi mangyari, but yung visibility natin does not allow us to see that high number of cases. Maybe we can see 200,000 cases. So I'm just being transparent about the data. Pero yun nga, I guess it's possible they know something na hindi namin alam or hindi pa namin nakikita kasi may mga panibagong subvariants nga na lumalabas all over the world.
David also warned of a possible surge during next month's elections, although he clarified that a surge means that cases should be exponentially increasing and not just doubling.
It could be the start of something. So wala pa tayong nakikitang gano'n na yung talaga nagsasurge yung numbers. Pero at the same time, we're not in the clear yet. Kumaga, bali mo, magsimula next week, tumaas yung cases, abutan yung election, definitely. Kasagsagan. Or even next week, the week before election, kung magkaroon ng surge dyan, abutan yung election. And that will be a concern sa election kasi, syempre, possible na ma-affect yung voter turnout.
Starting today, departures and arrivals in the Victory Liner terminals in Metro Manila will only be allowed from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. The bus line, which transports passengers across Luzon, announced that they will release new trip schedules, and they also encourage patrons to book their trips in advance through the company's hotline. This announcement was met with criticism online, with commuters pointing out that the time allotted is too short, while slamming the measure for being anti-poor. Others also pointed out that it will be very hard for persons with disabilities, senior citizens, or those with children to travel so late in the night. Meanwhile, the Manibela party list also lambasted the measure and asked whether the measure had any point at all. North Korean TV goes Hollywood with a montage featuring Kim Jong-un and highlighting the country's latest propaganda push. The details in this Bloomberg Quick Take.
It's a wide range of propaganda material that we see on North Korean TV. If we were to talk about specifically about leadership propaganda, it would fall into three categories generally: news reports, films, or documentaries about Kim Jong-un or his predecessor Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il.
The programming is all towards one message of solidifying the leadership of the Kim regime. There isn't much choice. So you have state TV and that's it. You don't get a lot of Netflix in North Korea.
Right, not much binging. So let's talk about its coverage of the recent missile launch on March 24th that used feature film style editing. What do we see? What's unusual about this one, John?
North Korea put together this very stylized video. People are talking about elements of Top Gun, Bollywood type of edits. I think that this was done to compensate or to dispel rumors of what went on and show a success. Rachel, what did you take away from that video? What did you see in that?
In the past, what we used to see is basically news reports on Kim, and the way those would be presented is that an announcer would be seated in the news studio reading the news report for about maybe 20 to 30 seconds to maybe about a minute, and then it cuts into the photos or video that North Korea TV wants to show. North Korea's latest ICBM test coverage was significant. North Korea had never put together a program like that, especially regarding a Kim leader. I mean, that was so progressive, so un-North Korean.
So looking back over the past several years, what are some of the noticeable changes in its programming and broadcast style, just in general?
A few years ago, I think the quality of the broadcasting went up into a higher definition. And with that came better sets, better studios, use of computer graphics, and other things as well, like putting reporters in the field to report on typhoons. You have these elements that are coming in from abroad and making this very staid, static broadcast of news much more dynamic than it has been.
John, I agree with everything you said. We're talking about changes as small as bringing in a whole new generation of announcers to bigger changes like showing more video in the international segment in the newscast.
So going forward then, will we see more of this image-conscious version of Kim and an emphasis on high-quality production?
I think we will continue to see North Korean propaganda strategy in general evolving. In terms of whether we will see another movie-type program on Kim Jong-un's public activity, I'm not sure. I think we might, we may not. It depends, I think, also on the feedback from the leadership circle regarding the latest ICBM test coverage.
As Rachel said, getting the message and the approval through the leadership circle is difficult. Then you have a lot of very old people in North Korea's upper echelon. It's inevitable for it to evolve, but again, there are limits to how far it can go. And North Korea is also very conscious as to what it releases to the outside world.
And those are the top stories at this hour. Join us again later at 11 a.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on Signal Play. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com so you can stream One News live anytime and anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.